Every day, it seems there's more progress in China to roll out Robotaxi. The big news that few are talking about is Baidu's executives, the general manager of their autonomous vehicle department specifically, is now publicly saying they're willing to partner with Tesla. Baidu is one of the largest tech firms and is known as the Google of China. Today, we'll show you more about Baidu's Apollo Go program that's operating 300 fully driverless vehicles. They even announced they'll be profitable by next year. So why then would they be open to partnering with Tesla? In related news, Beijing has announced expansion of routes where autonomous vehicles can be tested. This comes after news from a few days ago that a free trade zone was created, allowing foreign companies like Tesla to export certain data sets. I got Larry Goldberg joining us today. Larry is a multi-entrepreneur. Thank you again, Larry.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's talk about this. This is Baidu. This is a bit of news that I think few people are talking about. It sounds like it's a much bigger news. Basically, it's Baidu saying that they are open to collaborate with Tesla on Robotaxi service. This is coming directly from the general manager of Baidu's autonomous driving technology department. He was actually interviewed by a reporter for Shanghai Security News. So this is seems pretty valid that that he said that Tesla's will launch when Tesla launches their Robotaxi. Baidu will use Tesla's specific application models and the pace of entering the Chinese market and would consider possible cooperation opportunities. Baidu will explain more about this. But people keep saying Robotaxi is already working in China. But if you look at this, and I'm going to show a video of CNBC actually taking a Baidu in China. Sometimes the cars come with drivers. There's only certain areas that is considered driverless, and many are teleoperated. And miles per intervention, we don't know that. So let's watch this 1-minute interview, and then we'll get you to reply to that.
Hotel in Wuhan, and I'm going out to dinner, and I decided that I'm going to take Baidu's self-driving Robotaxi. You need a special app. But not everyone can ride. A notice pops up and warns, no young children, pregnant women, elderly, the infirm, or anyone with a bad heart. I'm in the right part of town to get the service, but the app says that I need to walk about 100 feet to get to the closest station to board the Robotaxi. The trip costs about $3, and thanks to steep discounts, that's about the same as a regular taxi. We got one, and it's coming in 15 minutes. So here's the Robotaxi, but there's a driver inside. The staffer told us to catch an unmanned cab, we needed to go to another pickup point. Less than half of the taxis still come with safety personnel. We did, and another showed with another assistant. Finally, we got one without a human. Wait, no one is inside except for us. We're on our way, but we're moving kind of slowly, about 30 miles an hour. On China's notoriously chaotic roads, the Robotaxi drove up a ramp, made a U-turn, and negotiated its way around bikers riding tandem and a timid driver. In an emergency, you press this for help. So it took us a little bit of time, but we finally got here. The Baidu Robo service is 24/7, and it looks like the car is going to go off for another trip.
Okay. So in addition to the fact that she said 50% of them actually have a person sitting there as a safety driver, the others, we actually are finding out more and more that they're being teleoperated. There's a human somewhere else watching it and can use a joystick to manage it. What's your thoughts on what you saw there, Larry?
Yeah, we're seeing Baidu roughly where Waymo was maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Waymo's advanced far beyond that. But again, it's assisted and it is, subject to these specially built cars with these sensors on them and, HD mapped maps. China is doing it very, very, deliberately. It's being driven from a policy perspective from the government. And they're building it in an extremely efficient way. So it's only a matter of time when China is able to, exceed the capability of the US Waymo system. But clearly, Baidu understands that FSD is the solution. Clearly, I mean, you don't have to read the subtext to see that. And we now see that the end game has begun. The moment of which these 3D printed these high definition maps and these multiple lidar sensor based cars and these huge compute trunkfuls of computers are going to go away, and FSD is going to replace them. And Baidu is very realistic. They see that. The Chinese are extraordinarily pragmatic, and they're going to adopt the system. And obviously, they're going to learn from Tesla, and they're going to compete mano a mano with Tesla. But it's going to be FSD. It's going to be video based. It's going to be AI based. It's not going to be the old Waymo, Google system. It's going to be for real FSD.
Yeah. And that's the question is, why would Baidu actually partner and say they would be willing to partner with Tesla? We're going to learn a little bit more about Apollo Go. Let's find out what exactly they're doing there, and you can learn a little bit more. So you've got this article written by Brian Wang. It's a great blog called Next Big Future, and we're going to look through what he researched. So he said, for those that say Tesla FSD is not as good as Waymo, why would a company with Waymo level robotaxi technology want to use Tesla's FSD? Okay, so Baidu has a service called Apollo Go. Currently offers robotaxi services in 10 cities in China, standing out as the first company to provide fully driverless robotaxi service in cities including Beijing, Wuhan, Shenzhen, and Chongqing. Baidu has its Apollo robotaxi service operating in China and has about as many robotaxi vehicles and mileage as Google's Waymo. So they're operating in more cities than Waymo or any other robotaxi service. Okay, so if they're willing to do it, what makes people think that the others are ahead or they're somehow doing something different? And Baidu's going to have more robotaxi vehicles than Waymo by the end of this year, and they're using the same LiDAR technology as Waymo. So, they're an AI company. They're known as the Google of China. So, you know what I mean? Like they are a company that actually has the developer, capabilities and strength. That's who they are. It's now 24/7 selected areas of Wuhan. And this is they launched it in February 27th of 2024. Oh, sorry. On that date, they launched it across the Yangtze River. Yeah. So I just want to get to this part here, which is here. So they currently operate a total of 300 fully driverless vehicles in Wuhan, but they expect to go over 1,000 by the end of this year. They already provided 5 million rides as of January 2024. Sounds like a lot, but compared to Tesla, it's not. Yeah. So, and then here's what it is. Okay. So they announced their 6th generation robotaxi. They plan to deploy 1,000 of them this year, and they forecast to be profitable. They're going to be profitable. How is that possible, Larry? The new vehicle, which costs them 200,000 RMBs, which is 27,000 USD, is half the cost of their previous generation vehicle.
Yeah, well, it's China, so they can be extraordinarily economic in their build outs. But, I mean, without the data, without millions of cars on the road, building the database, and without the extraordinarily high capacity AI compute power, and without the underlying technology that Tesla has, the process that they're going through, and that is to say, highly accurate, highly trained HD maps, one step at a time. They'll be growing at 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 vehicles at a time, not by the millions of vehicles at a time. And so you're talking about two different, completely different concepts of robotaxi. You're talking about, on the one hand, compute intensive, high definition maps, very large number of lidar and radar sensors. On the other hand, you're talking about true FSD. You're talking about true AI, and they're just not comparable. We've seen that now. We're on the end game. This is the end game. The rate of improvement of FSD from 12.2 to 12.3 to 12.4 and coming 12.5 and 12.6 is dramatic. And it's proven that this is the way forward. And Baidu recognizes that. They want the real stuff. They understand the difference between what they're trying to do and what Tesla's done. Now they've squeezed down the cost of the car to $27,000, and that's amazing. But it's still a custom-built car. It still requires, all these sensors. It requires all this engineering, and they're still running with backup drivers, and they're still running with a very large support center that's able to take over the car when things go wrong. So there's no doubt that they want FSD. There's no doubt that they're going to partner with FSD. It's where Waymo is going to have to go. It's where anybody who wants to actually run an economic driverless taxi service, Uber service, they're going to have to go with FSD. And Baidu recognize it.
We are here. We're like literally a week, a month, 2 months away from people starting to understand and realize that there's really no competition. I mean, if Baidu, and I just explained how many cars they have, how long they've been there, how many rides, you can see what actually happens if they're willing to do this. I just took a quick look and how many Teslas are actually in China. So they sold 600,000 Tesla vehicles last year, 2023, 555,000 the year before, 300 something the year before. So they have over 2 million Teslas in China now.
Not quite 2 million yet, but getting there.
And any moment, Tesla will just turn it around, right? Turn it on. Yeah, you got 2 million cars that are now Robotaxi ready that, can have this capability. Here we're talking about 500 vehicles that's going to become 1,000 vehicles this year.
Compared to look, a friend of mine sent me a clip about a person who arrived at Wuhan airport, came into town with the automated monorail, and then got the automated taxi. She got into it and drove it there, and it was, you see, Tesla's toast. And so, I mean, it is so difficult to explain to those who don't understand. It is so difficult to explain. It is, like trying to explain the difference between a TV and a phone. And it's difficult. If you've not seen it before, you don't understand it, you can't. But the game is over. The game is over. The rate at which FSD is improving, these extremely, difficult to manage, very brittle systems. I mean, they're extraordinarily brittle, these systems. The Wuhan system is as brittle as the Waymo system. They're extremely brittle. They don't really work that well. Baidu say they're profitable. Chinese companies claiming profitability are not, at the top of my investment apex. They're not in my investment triangle. But they understand and they get it. The thing about it is, they have the compute power. I'm not sure they have the compute power that Tesla have, but they have compute power, huge amount of compute power. And they will they will understand what Tesla brings to the table, and they will adopt it, and they will do very well. And Tesla will do very well out of it.
Yeah. So very soon we're going to hear an announcement, and if there's a partnership, then the rest will fall, or many of them will fall, and it's just a matter of Tesla's market just keeps growing. I'm going to jump to, because you mentioned about how the and pace of change for FSD is so fast. Let's jump to that, and then we'll come back and report the next news about China opening up even more regions for autonomous
Right.
testing. So, I'm sure you've seen this by now. Omar said AI is taking off at an insane pace, and then Elon replied saying, "Yeah, seeing it everywhere." By the way, 12.4 FSD 12.4 is going to go to internal release this weekend and limited external beta next week. But this is the killer. He says roughly 5 times to 10 times improvement in miles per intervention versus 12.3. So that rate of change between 12.3 to 12.4 is exponential, 5 times, maybe even 10 times improved.
Yeah.
And then 12.5 will be out in late June. Will also a major improvement in miles per intervention, and it's a single stack, no more implicit stack on highways. So we're very close to being feature complete, like everything on the same neural net. Yeah, sorry, did you want to make a comment on this?
Yeah, one thing you failed to mention. He goes on to say that 12.5 will also update Cybertruck to new stack. That's very important, by the way, very important. But look,
why is that?
I mean,
why is that very important?
To me, I drive a Cybertruck. That's why. No, what it's important. I'll tell you why it's important. It's an illustration of how dramatic the speed of change is. That they're able to add, new form factors to the baseline that rapidly. It's a very, very good indicator, of the plasticity of the software. And the plasticity of the software is an incredibly important component because you're not looking at coding, you're looking at learning. And now you're really limited only to learning capacity. And we'll talk about learning capacity, but that is the key. That, Waymo and Baidu and all these other, high definition camera solutions really dependent on a lot of code and a lot of compute power. You're in a different world when you're, using a true generative system. Clearly, Tesla have mastered the packaging of their solution into the inference computer built into the vehicles, and we're seeing the ability to port the system from one vehicle to another vehicle or to another generation of vehicles, version 4 of the inference chip. So this is huge. I mean, we're looking at a revolution that is happening so rapidly, and it's truly revolutionary. So, I'm looking at 8.8 and thinking to myself, they may actually be there before 8.8. They may not wait for 8.8. I don't know. It's very exciting.
It's very exciting. So you're great point about the Cybertruck. If they can do Cybertruck, which he had said just less than a few weeks ago, he said, well, don't expect Cybertruck because it's only 1% of our, population of people who drives.
Right.
But then they were able to get it done next month. So it means that they can adopt different vehicles. Yeah, that's a good point.
If you can port to different vehicles, I see the porting to different countries, different traffic domains. I see that as coming very, very, very fast indeed. I mean, there are special situations. There's India. That's a unique situation. China is not easy. I mean, China's a little chaotic. So, yeah, I mean, look, this is history being made, and people don't understand it, but this is history being made.
Okay. You were saying that it might actually happen before 8.8. Well, let's take a look at Brett Winton from ARK Invest. So based on what Elon said, about 5 to 10 times from 12.3 to 12.4, he thinks, well, that suggests a 25 to 100 times improvement in FSD by June. Like it's now May, March, April, May, by next month. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. It may be before August. Barring a performance improvement drop off, I put the Robotaxi commercialization threshold at 12.8 or 12.9. So we're 12.4 now. 12.4 is going to release 12.5 next month. 12.8, 12.9 may happen by August, though perhaps they will reversion to FSD unsupervised version 1. Why drive when you can be driven? What do you think about that?
Well, Brett Winton is he's an awesome intellect, and he's always able to encapsulate these things very accurately. So I have a very high regard. He has a pretty broad view of technology as a whole, and AI in particular. And he and the firm have been, and the ARK Invest firm have been tracking this very, very carefully from the beginning, and they've seen the change as the methodology changes, as the technology changes, and they're tracking it against AI in general. They have this they're tracking AI models across all of AI, not just of not just of FSD or driving in general. So he has a good handle on it, and I trust his judgment, but I'm able to make a much more generalized observation just from experience of these things. And the rate of improvement now, I feel very confident that we'll see a true FSD shortly, unsupervised FSD shortly. And I think 8A is I don't want to say it's a slam dunk, but I think it's a pretty good bet, a damn good bet, and maybe even some more.
Yeah. June, July, August. We're like less than 3 months away to get there.
Right.
But the improvement is happening so fast. And it's just unbelievable when you hear 5 to 10 times improvement in 12.3, 12.4. So what will
But
happen
look at
by
the improvement.
12.5, 6, 7?
Look at I mean, you have to understand that the improvement in terms of training capability is rising at an ever, so what happened in May is no longer true what's happening in June, which is no longer true what's happening in July. So we're seeing, this quantum leap both in software and in hardware. So, it's the classic, this is classic in software. It's classic.
People don't understand. Yeah.
From almost possible to, it's a slam dunk is like, boom.
Like that. And then what has the other people say? Nope, it will not happen because of regulation. It just won't happen with regulation. So we're watching China. I'm telling you daily. I've been doing a show every day about new news. And this is new news, but people think that I might have reported it yesterday, the day before, because they're just new things. So this one is, you've got Beijing has expanded autonomous vehicle testing to include routes to Beijing South Railway Station. They've just been increasing areas that they're willing to test and do pilots. So the new routes cover the Beijing Economic Technological Development Area, the Beijing E-Town. It extends all the way to the railway station. This is an image of a Pony AI Robotaxi. They're using LiDAR as well. Everybody's using LiDAR. And just ridiculous that they even try that. And then, so there's two-way autonomous driving test routes. The routes cover 32 kilometers and 58 kilometers respectively. It goes through these roads. 2.2 square kilometer test area has been designated around the station, including autonomous vehicle parking spots, multi-level parking facility. So this is a key focus of the demonstration zone's 3.0 phase expansion. So this includes this railway station, this railway station, this railway station, and then the airports. So they want to be able to take people from an airport to the railway station through autonomous driving. So these autonomous shuttle services already operated by companies like Baidu Apollo, Pony AI, WeRide, and AutoX with a fleet of 40 vehicles. And then, so the office is going to collaborate with relevant enterprises to advance highway testing for autonomous vehicles with pilot zone qualifications, aiming to provide passenger carrying shuttle services by the end of this year. Boy, this is China, and they're already talking about this, and we don't even hear Las Vegas or, New York airports. You would think that, hoping that US would announce that they would allow autonomous zones and get it going. I mean, we've got cities like San Francisco. There are 7 cities that are testing it, but it'd be great if it was much more of a government-led proposal. So, yeah, what's your thoughts about what you just saw there?
I'm kind of conflicted. I mean, clearly China trying to move as rapidly as possible, but the approach has been so driven by these LiDAR high definition map type approaches that it's almost backward looking. I think that once Tesla introduces FSD into China, there's going to be a change, and they're going to change on a dime as they often do, and they're going to start looking at true AI capability. I mean, to use multiple sensors to establish the exact position of the vehicle to a precise 1 millimeter, and to have that vehicle tracked according to precise maps. I mean, it is a huge waste of resource. It's a huge overhead, and it's not going to scale across China and across multiple different road types very easily. Once FSD is adopted by Baidu or is essayed by Tesla itself, I think the Chinese government will turn on a dime, and they'll ditch this kind of stuff. So yeah, it sounds like they're very supportive, and they are compared to the US government. But I think we need to see a change, a very significant change in approach, and I think we will see it.
Yeah. It's interesting that the largest Robotaxi competitor to Tesla has 1,000 vehicles by the end of this year. 1,000. There are 500 now. They're larger than Waymo. So it's like, yeah, but don't you know, these Robotaxi services are already out there, don't you know? Because Tesla has 0. Tesla chose not to have a pilot in a city. But what do people understand that overnight they're going to have 5.5 million cars as they wish can become robotaxis if they wanted to? So it's
I
versus
can't wait.
1,000 per.
I can't wait to hear the plan. And in 8.8, in theory, we will hear the plan. I've had so many debates, so many people about how they're going to go about implementing Robotaxi. And it's very exciting. It's very exciting because ultimately, we can conjecture, Elon will decide, and that decision is on its way, and he may even have the plan in his head already, and it'll be very interesting to see what comes by. There's so many practical issues, so many. There's like 100 different questions in my head, and that's at the high level, and then they boil down to each several thousand questions. So we'll see. It's one of the most exciting areas for strategic thinking. If you want to build a business plan, think about the business plan you would build, to build a robotaxi. It's pretty challenging.
So the big difference between Tesla and anyone else that's ever done this before, like Apple, is they're willing to partner. And so just a few months ago, we were all talking about partnerships and everybody was laughing. FSD partnership will be forever, may not even happen. Here we are hearing from Baidu. That's why I wanted to do this show. Baidu saying this, the general manager of their autonomous vehicle saying they're looking into, or they're open to do a cooperation deal with Tesla. So it's happening. We're going to announce it pretty soon.
Elon's phone is ringing. Elon's phone is ringing. And who
Yep.
do you think is on the other end? It's not just Baidu. There are some very interesting
Interesting.
people who are on the other end.
Probably. Yeah, it's going to be Chinese though, right? It's going to be BYD. That's unfortunate.
I'm I'm not convinced. I think we will have some Americans. I think we will have some. There's no doubt in my mind that there will be some major auto OEMs who are talking to Tesla right now.
That's awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Larry. That was a good one. Appreciate your thoughts and advice there. Follow Larry on X at Tesla Larry. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.